Oh, yeah, she did.
So.
Yeah, he's a.
Where?
We're saying here.
Rick, that's a done deal for next week. Just let me know what day is good for you.
Any day, because it's just group home boys and everything,
Okay.
because it's spring break. So I'm not doing this.
Okay. So if I send you a message and, okay, looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm not sure. Martin. Oh, the usual remember that. Yeah, they do.
Good, Chief.
Ready, sir.
And welcome to our March meeting of GSPS Board. I would ask Matthew to have a motion to come out of in camera.
At today's closed meeting, the board dealt with the following matters, discussing and approving confidential matters pursuant to sections 44, 2D, and E of the Community Safety and Policing Act.
Moved and seconded. All those, yes.
Member Poland and
Oh,
the mayor aren't
okay.
on.
Sean and Paul, are you there?
Tom.
Tom?
Not yet.
I am. Yeah, he was on. Oh, and John, we're just.
Your new business. So that
Matthew was,
request for
another link. Oh, there's Sean. Yeah.
opportunities to host
Okay.
conference.
It's always too, like, every.
Like to
Yeah,
follow
because
the
that's what he had asked right
How
before.
do you feel?
Okay.
How do you feel? It's
Support
important.
to do the work.
Hey,
I don't want to do work. Sure. I said, no, work, but sure.
well, it's, yeah,
Somebody's
I
got.
didn't message
with
him
them
either,
working
but-
with the city.
I emailed him as, again.
Tourism department and everything like that. I don't know whether we'll get it or not. But we can work with the host that one.
Okay,
I think we have enough room.
I'm with you. If you,
Okay.
as long as you want to lead it.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to lead it. You don't want to lead it.
He what?
Krista, yeah.
The
Well, yeah.
the national conference.
She'll be the
for police.
co-chair.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Oh,
No.
no.
Well, actually, it's so funny. I'm glad you brought that up because I also was going to say, we have $5,652 invested in this and the council asked me to make sure that everything we're spending on is
Yeah,
relevant.
yeah, yeah.
So I
What
didn't,
is this
I
for?
guess we won't drop probably.
The Canadian Associated Police Governors Conference in August, it's held in August and they.
Where is that one?
It
That's gonna be
moves.
in Edmonton.
It moves, yeah.
Oh,
2028, isn't it? Or 2027?
2027.
2027, yeah.
27 was the
2027.
CAPG asking
They
for
won't.
hosts.
oh, this is in 2027.
They want us to host it. I don't.
Oh,
wanna
in
do it.
Sudbury.
I don't want
Yeah.
to do it.
Well, you.
Oh,
Well, they don't.
No,
I'm
they do.
asking,
Oh.
the notice went out. They're looking for people, host cities.
Okay.
Do we want to apply?
Okay.
I think we should, but,
Oh, by the way.
I like-
I
but
got
that's
a-
up to, it's up to the board.
Well, with your leadership, we're following you.
I know.
Okay. Well, we got Sean.
Sean's here. I don't have the Marriott. I've sent him the link again.
Travis.
Something quick. No.
My quick answer is,
Tom and the mayor.
So 2 years, your daughter.
We do have one.
Yeah, we have one.
yeah.
Yeah, don't have any.
Oh, it's
But I don't
Ottawa though.
think-
It's August.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think we got to try to accommodate Tom for sure.
No.
Okay. And I don't think Paul was leaving early. I think he's plans to stay.
I wasn't told he was leaving, but before you want to get started.
So,
Sharon.
Your advice, chief, we can get started. You,
Yeah, I don't have,
fine.
Tom.
I've emailed them both again to make sure they have the links.
You're gonna have the resources.
well, let's,
I just asked him if he's coming back on. Who cares? In your corner. Got you.
okay. All right, folks, as we seem to be having a bit of a technical challenge for another two people joining us, we do have quorum, and perhaps we can start with our regular procedures, and hopefully the mayor and Tom join us shortly. So I will call Member Sizer to give our land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Chair. The Greater Sudbury Police Service strives to build positive and respectful relationships with the original inhabitants of this land, including First Nations peoples, Métis peoples, and Inuit. It is in this spirit we as a service honor and acknowledge that we serve in this land that is cared for from time immemorial by Anishinaabe people of the Three Fires Confederacy. We further acknowledge this land as the dish with one spoon and the Robinson Huron Treaty Region. In peace, our first duty. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Sizer. Obviously, Matthew has ears and eyes, so he can do his roll call and declaration of conflict of interest. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with today's agenda? Hearing none, we would then ask you that you have reviewed the consent agenda. Does anybody have any comments about the consent agenda? I will just mention that we are making $1,000 donation for the provincial conference in Niagara Falls in June. I think Member Portia, you're already signed up for that one?
Potentially.
Potentially, all right.
Not-
And Sean is, how about you? Al?
No.
No, okay. So right now we have Member Poland and Member Forte perhaps going to attend that conference, but it is $1,000 commitment to us. And I also will note that the national Canadian Association of Police Governance is a $5,652 membership to belong to them. I only raise that perhaps for a future board, Mr. Poland, that looking at our council asked about expenses, is there value to this membership? I know we've already discussed that this year, and we said yes. At this time, Al, rather than waiting to new business, do you want to bring up your suggestion?
Well, we received an email, the board has received an email, or the service has received an email looking for a host city for the 2027 CAPT, Canadian Association of Police Governance Conference. That is traditionally held in around the third week of August. And I think the size of that convention, around 250 people, we have the facilities and the ability to host the convention. So I would like to suggest that we, as a board, we put forward an application to host that 2027 convention here in Sudbury.
So a motion would read that we will put an application to host the 2027 National Convention under the leadership of Member Sizer. Moved, seconded. It's your idea. Not a long time ago. Your idea. We'll do it. All those in favor? All carried. Congratulations, Al. The only other piece of correspondence, well, two of them, actually, the $600, the request by the pensioners, we already have given them the $600. That was done. There is a significant letter in the consent agenda that I think I'm sure we've all read, but it is from the Inspector General Policy Memorandum, and it definitely deals with Project South. And that is an ongoing issue that all the police boards in Ontario will be reviewed. And I welcome that. I've talked to our Solicitor General Advisor, Tom Gervais, and we feel we have a pretty good police board and pretty good police service, and that in fact, people that don't should clean up their act. So, all of that said, a motion to adopt the consent agenda. Al, Krista, all those in favor? Carried. Going to the discussion agenda. And we're going to have a whole bunch of annual reports. So Chief, if you would like to lead us through this piece of the agenda.
Chair, just on that note, we do have two members of the public here to
Oh.
make a presentation. I don't know if you'd like me to introduce them, but we
No,
will do a
The
presentation.
mayor would like to introduce him,
Okay.
but he's not here.
Is that,
Oh, hold on, he's joining us now.
He's joining us now. So Rick,
okay.
you're first. All right. Well, do you want to, Paul's going to introduce why he has you guys.
Okay.
Talking this one. Then it's yours.
Okay, where would you like me to?
I think
At the podium?
podium's the best
Okay.
way for everybody can see it.
Excellent.
So are you there, Paul? So we're at the presentation, and maybe you and I talked about that this morning.
Yes,
I know you asked me to go over and kind of meet Rick. That was the second time I met Rick. For some of the officers in the room, Chief Elsner had Rick here many years ago. I think actually in this room, Rick, we put together a motorcycle many years ago. So we enjoyed it very much. Paul, do you want to tell us why he's here today?
thank you, Chair, and hi, everyone. Yes, Rick Osborne, and I know Jackie is there as well, but Laney. Certainly, they've been working on a very important program with respect to youth and the new youth initiatives to help out the youth that are really at risk and that certainly has some challenges. And the fact that Rick, with his vast experience in this field, has been a leader and certainly and supporter in trying to certainly play a role in these individuals' lives. Federal funding was applied for by the city, and basically federal funding had been received and certainly invested in this upstream, trying to prevention way of dealing with this very challenging population, but very important that we do the right investments and put in the time. So I thought it was very important that the police board and the community gets to know the work that has been ongoing and the successes of those of that work that's been ongoing and the importance of that work. So I think with that, I'll turn it over to Jackie and Rick to maybe provide us with an update as to where they're at, and and then we'll go from there.
Thank you, Paul. Jackie?
Okay. Good morning, Ani.
and to the chair and members of the board. My name is Jackie Bellini. I serve as Executive Director of Sudbury District Restorative Justice. I've spent much of my career as an educator, an administrator, and a community volunteer working with young people. Over the years, I've seen many youth who have made mistakes, but behind those mistakes were often deeper realities, adverse childhood experiences, trauma, instability, and systems that were unable to intervene early enough with the right supports. I've also seen what happens when communities choose to intervene differently. When we create spaces where young people are held accountable, supported, and given the opportunity to rebuild their lives before involvement in the justice system becomes their defining story. One of the most powerful examples of that possibility is the person who leads Aussie's Garage, Rick Osborne. Rick's story is not one that began in mentorship. As a young man, his life was heading down a very different road. He was involved in criminal activity, recruited into a biker gang, and eventually became a convicted federal inmate for 27 years. For many people, that would have been the end of the story, a life defined by mistakes. But Rick chose to rebuild through accountability, determination, and the support of others who believed change was possible. He transformed his life. Today, he dedicates that life to standing beside young people who are walking dangerously close to the same path he once did. Through Aussie's Garage, Rick uses motorcycle restoration to build and bridge mentorship, trust, and life lessons that many of these youth have never had the chance to learn. Rick has lived every risk, every mistake, every fear that these young people face. And now he is the reason a young person doesn't have to follow that same path. And that's the power of Aussie's Garage, youth saved by someone who has been there themselves. The remarkable thing is this: young people don't trust systems. They don't trust authority. They trust Rick because they know he understands exactly where they're standing. And we're pleased to be here with you today to share what we're doing and to ask for your support. So let me start with a simple truth that policing professionals understand better than anyone. By the time a young person becomes a repeat offender, we've already missed several opportunities to change their path. Aussie's Garage exists to intervene before that happens. I want to take you into that garage for a moment. One summer afternoon in Hanmer High School auto shop, a young male stood staring at a motorcycle frame sitting on a lift. It was stripped down to almost nothing. Parts were scattered across the shop floor and tools were on the workbench. Organized like Rick is. This youth stared at that bike quietly and he said, "This thing is completely wrecked, but I guess maybe I can help fix it." And then he paused and he added something that stopped everybody in the room. "Well, maybe I can too." That young person had already lived through things no teenager should. He was involved with a group of peers. He was using drugs heavily. Violence and criminal activity had become part of his daily life. School administration knew his name. CAS knew his name. Police knew his name. The court knew his name. Probation knew his name. And Northern Youth Services incarceration knew his name. And the justice system was becoming a revolving door. But standing beside him that day was a man who understands what it means to rebuild life, Rick Osborne. Rick is the heart, and he and his wife, Heather, are the mentors. Rick and Heather believe deeply that young people who have made mistakes are not broken beyond repair. Every week, Rick stands shoulder to shoulder with youth who are at risk of deeper involvement in crime, showing them how to restore motorcycles from the frame up. But the motorcycles are just the entry point. What's happening inside that garage is mentorship, accountability, and belonging. Young people who arrive guarded and disconnected start experiencing something that many have never had before: a trusted adult who shows up every week without judgment. Piece by piece, they rebuild a bike, and piece by piece, they begin rebuilding themselves. An equally important part of that work comes from Rick's wife, Heather Osborne, who weaves social emotional learning into the program. While the youth are learning mechanical skills, they're also learning life skills that many have never been taught: emotional regulation, communication and conflict resolution, accountability and decision-making, teamwork and problem-solving, and goal-setting and perseverance. These are skills that determine whether a young person can succeed in school, employment, relationships, and community life. Aussie's Garage doesn't just teach youth how to fix engines, it teaches them how to rebuild a life. And the young person I mentioned earlier, he kept showing up week after week. He learned how to rebuild an engine. He learned patience. He learned that when something breaks, you don't just walk away, you work through it. That day the motorcycle started for the first time, the whole garage erupted. But the most important moment was the look on that kid's face. Because for the first time in years, he had proof that he could start something, struggle through it, and succeed. Today, that same person is connected to community supports, like me and the restorative justice system, and the Northern Youth Service family support team, and Rick and Heather. He's not involved in gangs. He's not committing crimes. He's living independently, and he's navigating life with supports. And he now comes back to Aussie's Garage to mentor younger participants who are where he once was. And he comes to SDRJ's Project Connect in 1960 Paris Street to mentor young youth living there. And that transformation didn't happen through punishment. It happened because someone intervened before the justice system became the only path forward. And this is where Sudbury District Restorative Justice plays a critical role with Aussie. Through our connection to referral pathways, youth are identified and referred to Aussie's Garage. Through police officers, Crown and Defense attorneys, schools, the Vitra Arto process, and families seeking support before things escalate. This allows youth who are already showing risk factors, gang association, substance use, violence, repeated police contact, to be connected to intervention before they move deeper into the justice system. So from a policing perspective, this is exactly the type of early prevention and diversion strategy that reduces repeat calls, escalating incidents, and future in the justice system involvement. And the financial reality enforces this. In Canada, the average cost to incarcerate one youth can exceed $100,000 a year. And when you account for custody, court processes, supervision, and system involvement, $100,000. By comparison, my agency, Restorative Justice, serves 85 youth per year with an annual funding of $74,000. Programs like Aussie's Garage produce outcomes that incarceration rarely achieves: connection, purpose, skills, and a reason to choose a different path. Every youth we direct away from deeper criminal involvement represents not only a life changed, but significant savings to policing, courts, and corrections. More importantly, it represents a safer community. So members of the board, police officers in this city are often the first to encounter young people whose lives are beginning to unravel. Imagine being able to point those youth towards a place where someone like Rick Osborne is ready to meet them, not with judgment, but with mentorship, accountability, and opportunity. And that place exists, and it's called Aussie's Garage. Today, we're asking you for your funding partnership in helping us continue programming to reach more youth who are standing at that critical crossroad. Because if there's one thing we know from policing and prevention, it's this: every youth we reach early is one youth less entering the justice system later. And if I can leave you with one final thought, every motorcycle rebuilt in Aussie's Garage represents something far more important. One less young person that police, courts, and corrections will have to deal with in the future. And sometimes the difference between a young person becoming a repeat offender and becoming a mentor who helps the next youth choose a different path is simply whether someone believed they were worth rebuilding. Thank you. I'm not going to entertain questions.
No, you're not.
The man right here. I did. Sorry, Jerry.
It's just to let you
I'm
guys know,
passionate.
and girls, know who I am, right? Guys like me don't exist, period. There's no other guys like me. I exist because God has grace. And I could list all the men and women who made a difference in my life along the way, right? So ADHD, dyslexic boy, I didn't fall through the cracks. There was no floor. When I grew up, nobody knew any of those definitions. And so I was a bullied kid. And I got taken for a ride by a drug dealer when I was 14 years old. By the end of that night, I was injected with methamphetamine and heroin at 14 years old and was SA'd. I'm just going to use that as a term, right? Within the next year, again, that happened at street level. And I feared men. I now didn't trust my own judgment of men and who men were, right? And so I started robbing men because I could do that. And I robbed a Satanist choice. Not the same ones you have here, by the way. They were different ones. But not a good thing to do. And instead of killing me, they brought me in. And they did kill guys back in the day. I lived in Port Colborne. They would crack our heads off the concrete and throw us in the cab. By 19, one of Canada's most dangerous men. And I was a monster, right? I was coming from that point of view. And I went to the penitentiary. And I did 20 years. I did 15 of the 20 for armed robbery, weapons, drugs. And during that time, I got, some of it was good, some of it was bad. I went through 4 rides, but I got my mechanic's license because a guy named Mo Galloway cared about me and got me into an apprenticeship program and walked me through it. So I started building motorcycles and cars for guards. And I remember saying, a guard wants me to build them, so F the guards, Although he said he'd give me cigarettes and coffee. There's 2 things we didn't get in prison, coffee or cigarettes, right? So guess what I did the whole time? At 15 years and I got out, but I hadn't dealt with the damage, right? And I got out and I was just as bad as I ever was. I lasted about 5 weeks. I got shot a couple times. I was wearing a bulletproof vest, but I got hurt and I went back to prison. And when I went back to prison, I decided my dad's American and he used to say to me, "It's all lost, Rick, try one more time." And so I tried one more time on my dad's say-so. And I got to Sault Ste. Marie. I got to a treatment center for a year. And I had a pregnant psychologist who helped me non-verbally. I just wrote out things to her. I didn't talk to her because I knew how to say whatever she wanted. And she healed me that way. And when I went back to prison, that's good enough. I'm not a heroin addict. I was 38 years old. I'm good. And Queen's University came in. I'm part of the committee in there, and I went down, and the guys went up and talked to the girls, and I talked to the professor. At the end of the night, he said, "Rick, you seem like a smart guy. How come you don't have a university degree?" I said, "I'm learning disabled. I only have a grade 8, except for my apprenticeship up to 10 in English and math." And he said, "I'll help you do a GED, and together we'll challenge Queen's University, and you'll do a degree in my department." And I thought he was senile, but he said to me, "When you graduate, I'll have your Queen's ring waiting for you." This is the Queen's ring. This is my dad's wedding ring. The 2 men that made the difference in my life. And so now I'm university educated, but I still have to deal with the bikers and all that. And I survived that. Like, I have Hell's Angels tickle my stomach when they walk by and go, "Ozzy, you make us look good." Like, how does that happen, right? And so when I got out, I went, you know what? The guys in prison are me. We're all me. Right? Rarely did I see a monster in prison. I usually saw guys that the juggernaut started and they did not know how to get off, right? And so I just went, you know what? When I get out, I want to be the corny old guy, which I am now, right? I'm 70 now, and I'm going to die with my boots on. I had a cop ask me one time, "What are you going to do when you retire, Ozzy?" And I said, "I took my retirement on the front end. I'm going to go to the end, right?" And so this is my passion, to work with youth from the same way I was worked with. I have a degree in psychology and I have 2 years post-grad at McMaster to deal with addiction. I can back my BS, but it's just to work with them and look what's going on and somebody real who's in their ballpark. And so I'm doing one right now. The more you look at me, the better I look. Hopefully in life that's not the case, but I'm a unique guy and I love Sudbury.
Hey.
Thank you.
So friends, with the sensitivity of timing, if you do want to have more of a visit with Rick, Peter Piper, as I know it, Best Western, as most other people know it, downstairs, they actually have their classroom set up. I did have a visit with Paul and Sarah a few days ago, and it's quite impressive. Since we're jumping all over the agenda today and we've had IT problems and perhaps presentations a little bit long, I might suggest there is a request here. They've run out of money. I think it's the end of March, your Fed money is gone, and they want to keep the program going until June. The question that was asked a few days ago by the chief and by the mayor and by myself, how much money do you need? They need $30,000 to be able to go to June. So I'm going to jump on the agenda right now, guys. But we have a new policy where we can only give 2,500 at a time. So there is a motion in this agenda that we actually will give an exception to that particular requirement or that particular policy, and that there is another motion that we would give them $5,000 towards the $30,000. In turn, the mayor and Councillor Sizer in the city budgets are trying to locate $5,000. The Lockheed Foundation has located $5,000. There has been a request put into the Bishop Carter Foundation for $5,000. And the two school boards, Rainbow and Separate, if they come in with $5,000, that would be the 30. So I would suggest today that we begin that leadership by first having the motion that we waive the $2,500 max. So I think you have it moved and seconded. All those in favor? Carried. Second motion is that we will give $5,000 towards this program from the Chiefs Initiative Fund. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Great, it's passed. You can go home. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Great presentation.
Fantastic. Thanks so
Thank
much
you.
for coming to visit us.
I wonder how many kids.
Sorry.
We'll follow up.
85 now.
Well, she has 85.
Oh, how many do you, yeah.
So how many does Rick have?
Yeah, and what are the criteria to refer that?
Yeah, well, that's what I was, yeah.
Yeah.
Petra, that's a big one, though.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
one that- We're just wondering how many participants he.
40.
Is the
40.
program done after
85,
June?
85 total, and I think he does 40 at a
I
time.
thought she did 85, Jared.
Yeah, she did 85, but she's feeding into the program.
Okay.
And it's seven. My question was, how much per kid does it cost to get
Yeah.
them out of the system? $7,500. So they had a significant Fed grant through. Paul can tell you, but it's like it was $350,000 something the feds gave him, and that's what's run out. So he needs bridge financing to June.
Sorry, Jerry, it was
Yeah.
less than that. Yeah, it was about maybe $100 grand that the feds
And
had provided. And now on March 31st, I'll be bringing the motion for the funding from council, and they're going to come back and present again the same presentation they gave here. They're going to come back to council, give that presentation as well.
But in the meantime, they're looking to get, Paul, I think in the meantime, they're still looking to replace that Fed money.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be after June 31st, June 30th. That's another applications that they're making to all the other government programs. But we're going to try to keep them to go. So I'll be bringing, again, we're working on a motion to bring to council. Okay, and they're going to come present again.
So
HCI funds, Paul, or?
Something, again, I've asked staff to look at options.
Okay.
Back with
Okay.
suggestions of what we can do, and I'll bring it. Council will decide if they want it or not.
Okay.
Thank you.
and the two school boards will be Bruce Burgett and Morris Hussel.
Yeah.
They're not really cued into kind of where the apps have to go, so I'm kind of mentoring them a little bit with that. So the Bishop Carter is Bishop Tom Dowd, and
Yeah.
it's right down that
Yeah.
foundations, that
Yeah.
alley, the gate, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that shouldn't.
And the two school boards, I've asked them to identify how many public kids are in the system and how many Catholic kids are in the system, so they can show the value for $5,000.
Yeah, Bourget may be more familiar, but Morris is new.
I saw Morris grow up. Morris's dad was a good buddy of mine.
Yeah.
Morris,
Oh, yeah.
and Bruce, Jennifer, I coached her playing basketball. So I'm quite convinced we'll have a good meeting with those two guys. All right, let's move right along. So we are all literate, Chief. So I know the annual reports have been in our board package. So if you want to give us the highlight versions with the help of Superintendent Burnett.
So first, Most of these reports, as you know, are annual reports in many of our areas. I'm going to start off with our property and evidence control audit. Again, as you indicated, Chair, it's a very detailed report. So at a very high level, under Section 23 of the adequacy regulation, we are required to do this. We do have somebody internally in the service that is trained as an auditor, independent of the property unit, of course, and went out and did the audit this year. You'll see the audit methodology when it transpired. You will note on page 18 that 2024 audit showed that there was an issue out with some heating controls. It is suitable. We still are working with our landlord, which is the city of Greater Sudbury, to try and increase the ventilation out there. But so you will see that that's outstanding from 2024. You will see the auditor examined 100 items of property, and he goes through very methodically and detailed, what the process was, what was audited, and some of the outstanding tasks and whatnot. Really, at a high level, you will note that the assessment showed that our property and evidence control unit is adequate and effective, and all of the controls that need to be in place are in place. You will see an increase in firearms. As we know, we have had an increase of firearms incidences in the city, as well as some of the impact of individuals turning in their assault rifle firearms. So unless there's any questions, this will be our audit report and annual report for property and evidence.
Question Paul, question Sean? Question Al, question Krista?
Yeah.
You still melt the guns down with that outside contract?
Once they're in construction, yes.
Yeah, so that happens once a year, and he travels around. Missing persons?
A missing person, again, under the Missing Person Act of 2018, this regulation sets out that we must obtain judicial authorization to access records, and it is very detailed in the requirements when seeking these reports. You will note on page 26, the individual circumstances in which we made these requests. They're outlined here what they were for. And again, we highlight the urgent demands for missing persons and age category, as well as the demands. You will see that 29 of the 31 that the persons missing, these do assist us. And so missing person, as well as kind of check on the well-being of individuals. So this is a really good tool for us. But because, again, we are going into people's personal records and whatnot, it is very outlined in how we are allowed to make these urgent demands, and we must report on them. And this is our annual report. You will see on page 28 the report that is submitted by us to the ministry.
Questions, anybody? Not seeing any, Chief? Can you tell us more about freedom of information?
Yes, again. Freedom of information, you will see that reports were down in 2025 for personal, but up for general. You will see the fees collected. Again, I know the board last year did renew or review our fee structure and did increase it a little bit. Not making a lot of money in this area, but we do charge for these. It's through Celine Fichet in our records department. They do keep us busy, and these are the numbers, again, that we are reporting. And of course, it's all under Section 26, through the Information Privacy Commission, in which we need to report these.
Anybody got any questions? Paul, Sean, Al, Krista? I guess the only question I have, Chief, is $854.70. Does that actually cover your cost?
I'm going to turn that over to Celine. She's shaking her head.
No.
It's not.
Those are all the fees that we can charge through the Act. We're limited to the fees. Our fee schedule are different. So a lot of, I know it doesn't look like a lot of reports. A lot of reports we do try to push through the fee schedule. But anything coming through the Act, we're limited on the type of fees we can charge. Personal requests are even lower. There's a mandatory $5 fee, application fee. But otherwise than that, there's not much we can charge for.
Okay, so, all right, good to know. Thank you. Use of force annual report, Chief.
Yes, again, through you, Chair, a very, very detailed report. As you know, this is information that we must collect. The regulation states that we must submit this, we must track it for a year. I welcome Constable Gagnon, who's joining us as one of our use of force instructors from the training branch. You will see on page 33 the criteria, for reporting these throughout the year. GSPS's strategic direction emphasizes, community safety, trust, and leadership, and ensuring that our officers are trained, that our policy is developed in accordance with all of these regulations. We continue in our training, our in-service training annually, which is currently ongoing right now, to promote de-escalation strategies, crisis response training, and to reduce the need to use force. An officer only uses force when and if necessary, as outlined in the use of force and the training regulation. The insights from this report directly inform our training programs. So every year, this team, goes through this report and ensures that our training in subsequent years really does go through this and how we do our training. So again, these numbers are highlighting the report submitted. One again outlines, perceived race of the individual, the type of force used, we must track. So firearms, the conducted energy weapon. We do have now the Earl, which is a less lethal, a patrol carbine, as well as physical force. So it's all outlined here on the number of times we use force and for what reasons. You will also note that our ERU team are allowed to do team reports, and so you'll see the number of reports and whether they were individual or team reports. Again, a very, very high level on reporting our use of force for the year. And on page 42, the reasons again, to protect self, to effect arrest, to protect others or other individuals. And again, the numbers are here for 2025. So unless there's any questions, happy to answer them, but we report this annually and the report has been submitted.
Paul, Sean, any questions? Al, Krista? A couple questions that I had. Let's go back to my notes. So a bit of a bizarre statistic was on page 36. Spring of 2025 was like right out of whack with spring of 2024. And for every other season, the spring of 2025 was like twice as much. Is it just a bad spring that they decided to have force they had to use, or it just seems a little, it's the outlier right here?
Yeah, and I do see that up top here. I don't have specifically those in front of me. It could have been, during that time, there were several search warrants. I know that in these high-risk search warrants, we're often seeing, force needing to be used to effect arrests. It could have been in that springtime, we did effect several arrests, or there's no information provided to me about why that is an anomaly.
So perceived subject race on through page 37, I guess I circled the numbers, and obviously the numbers of the force compared to the residents of that demographic are a little bit out of whack, in fact, significantly out of whack. My question was, do these people live in Sudbury?
So a lot of individuals, as we know, again, from what we've seen in the last year, from our high-risk vehicle stops to our search warrants, when it's coming to weapons and drugs, are individuals not locally. We have reported on this before in lots of our information. They're from the GTA and coming in to our jurisdiction for the purpose of selling drugs.
So that really skews the demographic that says X is Y when it's really XX isn't Y. Because these are not Siberians. These are people that you used to force on, but they don't live here.
Correct.
Okay.
And we have to report on the use of force, whether the individual lives here or not.
Yes. My last question was on page 42. And I might be just not reading this right, Chief, but as far as I can see, your type of force used in 2025, they never fired a gun.
Correct.
Never fired a gun.
Never fired a gun. So you see it, they drew it.
They drew it, they pointed it, I guess they pointed a rifle. Then it said firearm discharge 11.
Firearm discharge.
So I couldn't figure that up about the ones above it.
Sure, I can answer that. 10 discharges were animal being dispatched as a result of legal collisions. One of them is an investigation still ongoing with the SIU currently.
Yeah.
So can't comment on that.
But so in other words, the handgun was drawn, it was drawn and pointed, drawn, pointed, and it was discharged.
Yes,
The rifles were discharged on the dispatch of animals.
that's correct.
But the human being, I'm familiar with what the one you're talking about. So was that a handgun or a rifle? So there should be another little box at the end of that that would have said discharge, correct?
It says
Say
firearm discharge at the bottom.
at the bottom, but it's not part of the handgun line. You see, it says drawn, pointed, but it doesn't say discharge at the end of that.
Yeah, so firearm discharge, the last one,
Yeah.
sorry, Constable Daniel, is a handgun.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
That's what I thought, because I think the media covered that particular incident, and I just couldn't figure out if it was recorded or not. So it is recorded.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just don't want to point that you raised with respect to the residency of some of the individuals committing the crimes in our area that are, and is it possible to, in our reports, to kind of identify the percentage of what that is until we know? It gives, as the chair mentioned, at the end of the day, the perception that, a lot of crimes happening in our area are from Sudbury or from Sudburyans, right? And when the majority are not. And so I think it'd be, if there's a way of identifying, we're not trying to identify exactly where they're from, but we know if they have a residency here, right? Obviously they would have an address here. And the ones that don't have an address. I'm just raising it because it's just that perception. Jerry? Chair.
So yeah, so Mayor, that it's funny because later in the report, and I forget which one of you guys had, the inspector has a report about the drug investigations and arrests. I then wrote again, my note is compared to the annual report, how many of those guys you arrested in this report are from out of town? Because I think that's the way to track it.
On page 38 here, it does say 36% of these individuals reside outside of Sudbury, such as Greater Toronto area, with 2 being involved in 2 separate attempt murder incidents. 7 of the individuals were involved in intelligence-led investigations. So the data is on page 38.
Okay, so I missed that and I apologize for that, but I think we need to really specify that because again, it goes to show certainly what we're up against. As we're not only dealing with, we're dealing here, but people are coming here to commit the crimes. And therefore, that's more of a challenge. And the demand on our service, because we're the hub here, we are again needing more resources to deal with this because of that hub of which we are. Yeah. So I think it's just one that we highlight this more often.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So moving along to public complaints annual report.
So again, under the Community Safety and Policing Act, we must report on this annually. You will see in 2025, our Professional Standards Bureau investigated 10 new chief complaints, 9 of which came out of Section 198, and 1 was a police professional. Just highlighting here, out of the 10 complaints, 8 involved police officers. They were carried over from 2024. We weren't able to. 1 involves a special constable, and 1 involved a police professional. And one of the complaints was substantiated, and there was discipline issued in that.
Questions? Paul, Sean, Al, Krista? Your colored pages in 48 and 49, my only little note was, boy, there's lots of zeros, eh? Considering all the problems we could have had, we had none. So that to be commended to the police service chief. So we continue with the chief's complaints annual report.
So I just did the chief's complaints. The next are public complaints, which are a little bit different, and you'll see the numbers are quite a bit higher. So 71 public complaints. As you know, LECA is our oversight agency, the law enforcement complaints agency, and can be initiated by a member of the public. Again, they're outlined, their conduct complaints or service complaints. So complaints regarding procedures established by my office or the service, and then they also can be received by the IOP. So complaints regarding the conduct of police officers are received by the director of LECA, which they can keep them, called screened in, or screened out, and they come back to the police service of jurisdiction to interview. So 71 public complaints were received in 2025. 51, so 72% of the public complaints received by LECA were screened out, meaning the director did send them back to us. Of those public complaints, one was substantiated, and again, discipline was imposed on that. And the substantiated complaint was in relation to neglect of duty. Again, very high level on that. Happy to answer any questions.
Paul, Sean, Al, Krista? Just a bit of a pet peeve I have, noting 72% were screened out by meaning the complaint was found to be frivolous. We seem to spend a lot of resources, a lot of time, and a lot of money on frivolous, but again, I think that's high. When we talk about high discussion, I think that would be a Tom Gervais and a Solicitor General discussion, but it seems that there's a lot of resources going to things that really shouldn't go to things.
Yes, and as a public entity and a public service, people do have the right to be able to complain about the service we provide or the service they receive from our members. But luckily, it does take time, but that, because it is quite taxing on our members when they go through an investigation. So luckily, we are able to screen some of those out.
I think that's all your annual reports.
Yes, sir.
And this is all for information. I don't think there's a motion to receive those.
Yep, there's
All right. So moving on to our agenda, financial reports. So donation reserve trust fund. We've kind of addressed an earlier request, which was, I think, the amended one. So in our binders, there's a number of them. So Chief, do you want to walk us through those?
Yes, thank you. And I just really want to highlight, I want to thank the board for supporting the work that, Ozzy is doing, and Jackie, just being able to hear the impacts, on what's being happening with our youth, and through the mayor and I, and leading in community safety and well-being. We know that it takes a village, right, to work with all of these individuals. So thank you for supporting that. You'll see $1,500 in support of the Art Gallery of Sudbury's Mend and Chill. This is a great initiative. The Mend and Chill is going to work with youth. By offering a free weekly supervised Saturday program in a trusted downtown cultural space. Mend and Chill provides youth and families with a safe, constructive alternative to unstructured time, reducing risk. So again, you can read here. We would support that. $1,000 in support of the Aboriginal Secondary School Awards. We've partnered with this group before. It's in partnership with the Swakemuk Native Friendship Center to recognize the amazing achievement of Indigenous youth. The event brings 500 or 600 students together, family, friends. The students are examples of young people who have met challenges and overcome them. $1,000 to support them. Then we have $2,000 to support students who often face significant barriers through, I'm going to read my French here. Fabrique ton hiver. Mayor Lefebvre, you want to help me there? Again, it's a prevention-focused, hands-on makerspace initiative designed to increase youth engagement, reduce risk factors linked to negative behaviors. So again, another program that's going to help at-risk youth. One of my favorites, and not a big ask, again, to support our Cops, Kids, and Fishing event, which Canadian Tire does help us out with. That'll come up again this summer. At the end of the day, the youth leave with a trophy awarded for the biggest fish. They leave with a fishing rod and a tackle box. And again, get to spend a wonderful day with our police officers, M&R, OPP out on the water. $1,000 in support of Reach Access. ZABI, which RAS, it's an interpersonal health promotion. It's through some of the students at NOSM just again trying to help youth and families at risk through health promotion. So again, recommending that. $1,800 in support of the Sudbury Manitoulin Children's Foundation Play Program. So positive leisure activities for youth is a barrier breaking initiative of Sudbury Manitoulin Children's Foundation. Again, it's going to recreation, music, dance, arts. Play opens doors to experience, promote health, confidence, and belonging. Lastly, this is one we do every year through Evelyn Dutrazak, $1,000 in support of the Lions Superstar Vocal Showcase. So Cafe Musique out in Rayside, Balfour, attracting local performers and youth dancing, acting, playing instruments. Again, youth engagement opportunities to help build skills and of course help with their esteem. So quite a few asks, but again, the reason we have this fund is to support these initiatives in our community.
So with those explanations, we do have a collective motion.
Yeah, excuse me, that the board authorized the donation reserve fund request as outlined in the report and approve payment to the requested amounts.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving over to the board reserve fund.
Yes, you will have seen this weekend, the annual polar plunge took place. Thank you to our committee led by Superintendent Brunette. We raised about $65,000. There were over 300 plungers. So the committee had asked for $1,000 from the board's donation reserve fund to offset some of the expenses. We really could have took that away from some of our funds raised, but we did not want to. Those funds stay locally here in Sudbury, and we're happy that next is $2,000 to support our men's basketball team who go annually to the Joe McDonald Ontario Police Basketball Tournament. As you know, we hosted last year at Cambrian College. This year, it looks like they're headed to Windsor. It began in Windsor. I don't know where they're off to this year.
No, hold on. Okay.
Doesn't say, but they will go and they're looking for $2,000 to support them to offset some of the costs.
Questions or comments? Paul, Sean, Al, Krista. First off, I would challenge that Windsor started that basketball tournament. I'm almost positive we started it because Macaulay was the chief and I threw the ball up. And the police teams from York and Toronto came up and just pounded the crap out of us. But we thought we were pretty good up till then. I'm almost positive that I see Windsor's taking credit for it, but I'm positive Alex was the driving force behind that. But anyway, having said that, I think it's really wonderful they adopted Joe's name for this tournament. For those of you that don't know, I played ball with Joe. So Joe was a really good basketball player. And it's funny, Rob Thurkel, Al Lasuma, they had like living legends in this building of basketball players. And so we have always done relatively.
Till the South came.
Till the South came. We saw semi-pro guys that had been recruited by Toronto and York, and it was like, that guy played in the NBA. But having said that, we're always competitive, Chief. So I strongly suggest this is a historic donation for this GSPS, and it's good. Having said that, you're being very humble because the polar plunge, I was going to put under new business, but that's historic. As you know, Joanne works with me now, and she's been organizing that forever. And she said they've never, ever had that kind of attendance and that kind of money. And then if you remember, it was raining at 11 o'clock that morning, and everybody wasn't too sure exactly how that plunge was going to go. And it was spectacular. So I think as a board, we'll certainly support the $1,000. But I think, Matthew, we also want to make a note with that motion that we commend the committee for outstanding job to support Special Olympics and setting a historic amount, because to be actually, as of 24 hours ago, I know you're over 65,000. So you're likely closing in on 70. So kudos to you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. So, and by the way, Tyler, you and your colleagues and other media that are up on the board, great coverage. So thank you.
Well, I don't know about that. They coined me the flying police chief. I've seen that photo flying around all over the place.
You're the
Front
first
page,
photo.
yeah.
You're the first photo on all of them.
Sarah, take it. Yeah, if you're calling the flying police chief, take it. Fly with it. That's awesome.
All right. So I think we voted on all of that. So everybody's got their money. So that's great. Board reports. Matthew, do you want to make any comment about your report?
Yeah, just a quick comment. I was able to attend rather two events representing the board, the PAO conference, and then the Big 12 meeting recently. Both were very informative and brought back learnings for the board. I'm always happy to represent the board at those. And also, I was asked to be a judge at the Polar Plunge last weekend with the chief. It's always an honor to be asked, and it was a pleasure to attend. So, and as the chair said, the event was very successful, very well attended. So,
Very much. Good report. Thank you very much. Matthew, moving to reports from the chief.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, again, the board will have read this ahead of time. I just really want to highlight, the work being done and start with Inspector Ornella in our community mobilization section. And I know this is near and dear to, Member LaFave because, the work that we're seeing done in collaboration with our partners at the city. You'll see here that our crew unit, along with the municipal law enforcement, we did a joint Sudbury Housing Properties Initiative. You'll see the results from that. I think that's important. We're going to continue to do that. We want those spaces to be safe for the individuals living there. We've seen some disruptive behavior, and so we are working jointly on doing that. You'll see those funding dollars. We've increased our mobile crisis rapid response team. So thank you to our community partners, Canadian Mental Health, as well as HSN. We've expanded to 4 teams. We saw just the return on investment in having those teams and getting out and doing a lot of upstream work. So those have been really supporting our front line as well as those vulnerable populations. The BIA Coffee with a Cop, again, just gets our members out and engaged with members in the downtown business. Their voices are being heard. We want to ensure that we continue to keep those lines of communication open. And that kind of delves into Inspector Ornella attended on my behalf. I was out of town to the downtown BIA AGM. And by all accounts, they're happy with the work we are doing along with our city partners. The LCBO Joint Enforcement Initiative, we've seen substantial increase in thefts from LCBO. We're actually having their head of security come to a meeting here in April just to speak on how we can work together and kind of trying to deter some of these thefts because they are very taxing on our members to do those investigations. Again, you'll see our lacrosse program is continuing. Just doing some great work, and our citizens on patrol. You might see downstairs our 2 new cars. We've got lots of great feedback. People are just seeing them in the community more, and you'll see all of their deployments, and we're getting a lot of great feedback there.
Can you repeat that about seeing them more in the community?
Yeah.
I
You want to
think,
tell your
well, I just think
partner?
it's just because of the wrapping, the way
Yes.
the way they're made.
Oh, they look great.
They look, yeah. And I've been pushing for a more European style police cruiser with the wrappings, and so this is working towards that. The chief doesn't agree with me,
No.
but
We're not doing that. Out of town youth prisoner escorts. I know Member LaFave, you did ask, and we will report. Of course, we do get $1.9 million, $1.945 million from the province. Last year, as we closed out the year, we 3.268 million. So of course, there's a variance of $1.323 million that we locally pick up for prisoner transport and all things, related to prisoner transport. So, the offset that we get from the province is not enough. And so, we will hopefully continue to advocate for more funding dollars as we continue to have to transport out of our community more and more. So just providing you those numbers as we closed out our year end.
So questions on this report? Lots covered there. Hi, Sean's still there. Sean, Paul, any questions?
Well, just on sorry, Chair, through you, just on the prisoner transport, the difference. So right now, from what the data that I read is basically the property taxpayers of Sudbury basically are obviously funding a lot of that to the tune of, again, over Actually, it's quite staggering. So I'm wondering if there's a business case to be made, which we're trying to make to the province, saying we should certainly sort of transporting them around the province. What more can we do for our residents here, right? With that investment that we can do there. So, anyways, I'm just trying to think of how we can continue that advocacy together to the province to certainly ensure that we can service that population here, not to bring it to Thunder Bay or elsewhere else, which was to me is ridiculous. So I think the province needs to be a lot more nimble, a lot more better organized to provide services not only in two places in the province, but maybe in more places. So anyways, maybe we'll have more conversations on that of how we can advocate to improve that service.
Paul, in support of what you've said, and I would think that actually the Ontario Board Association, definitely, there's other boards. I think North Bay's already written letters about this as well. I know that the people down in Collingwood, I think they actually had a municipal councillor talking about this as well. So this is a bit systemic in terms of taxpayers of Ontario are basically paying the bill to put people like Thunder Bay. It's 13 trips. Like they could be at Cecil Facer quite easily, and we wouldn't have to go to Thunder Bay. And for the record of everybody, two people have to go with those kids, so it's two people out of the resources too. So I would suggest, Paul, that at this board level, that we would send a letter to Lisa Darling asking that Al Boughton make this a priority for all boards, that we would like to be fairly compensated for all travel of youth in Ontario. And then, Paul, I might suggest you and Al do that with AMO. Is it AMO?
Yeah.
Well, there's certainly from the north would be Phenom and BMO as well, but certainly, yeah, we could bring it at all levels of the organizations that we're with, yeah.
Because I know the mayor of Marathon, that's Rick Dumay. Rick Dumay?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, he's already complained about this too at a provincial level. So I think the time is ripe because everybody's getting this burden that they don't think is fair, which isn't fair. So I'm quite prepared that we would lead the discussion with boards and you guys do it with your Phenom or your AMO.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
Thank you, Jerry. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions you guys want to ask?
I just have
Krista?
just one quick question. For your enhanced mobile crisis rapid response team, the complement was increased from 2 to 4.
Yes.
On those teams, just for information purposes, is it one officer and one
Clinician.
clinician?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So one officer, one clinician. So now they support all 4 platoons. So
Great.
there's always a team working.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any questions, Al?
No, good.
As a property owner downtown that did have the problem with people in my doorways and intimidating my female staff and that, I can tell you since you started this in November, Chief, your team has to be commended. It's the difference in night and day. We go in the morning, there's nobody there. I go to work, I'm usually at work by about 5:45, 6 o'clock. And even when I drive downtown on Larch and Cedar Street, the warming shelter has a few people, but there's no one in the doorways. The DeCampo restaurant, I often have breakfast there, and poor Stephanie Emmanuel were just about ready to give up their lease because all the bus people were coming over and hanging out by them, and they've said the same thing. It's the difference in night and day. So please don't give it up, and you're doing a great job with that.
Yeah, we definitely won't be doing that. We're not giving up.
So,
Thank you. Next
Chris
over.
Brown,
Yes, next over patrol operations as well as emergency communications. The deputy has put them together now. There's so much work being done between Manager Andrea Savage and Chris Brown just to work on our daily calls for service, diverting calls from the front line. Lots of work being done there. So you will see, I know, again, Member Lefebvre, you asked last meeting about our comparative data for our assist EMS. We continue to take, calls in assisting EMS. However, we continue also to work with Aaron Archibald and his team in kind of some de-escalation training for them. But we did provide you that number of the comparative data over the last 3 years. So again, just some of the calls that we would attend to with EMS. And of course, we don't want to see any of them harmed, or they are seeing some individuals being aggressive or intoxicated, all of that stuff as well. So we're there to support them. We continue to do online alternative responses. You'll see there our e-platoon. online reporting. We've gone to a new platform, which has made significant difference in our online reporting as well as kind of our customer um, service to the members of the public who are reporting online. So we continue to work there. And you will see just some highlights on the last page here of patrol operations and some noteworthy events. So any questions on patrol operations?
John, Paul, Al, Krista. It's nice to see E platoon highlighted, Chief. And I guess in an evaluation, it's what, 43 incidents they handled. Is that good, bad?
It is because it's taking away from those are calls for service. And so as we try and be more efficient, more proactive, more out in the downtown core, more out in people's neighborhoods, when we don't have to send a police car in our vast jurisdiction here, it allows you to report online and have the officer take your report, whether it's for insurance purposes. Like these are really priority 5 calls that there's no suspect. However, I believe it was last month, an individual, I think there were Inspector Chris 33 LCBO. So they were able to link because it was no suspect at the time, but based on everything, our E-platoon members were able to link one individual and numerous charges were laid. But we're not sending a police car to all of that. So we're trying to be more effective in our deployment. And it also is, for whatever reason, officers aren't able to be deployed. It gives them really meaningful work that they're still doing police work. They're still laying charges. They're still working with our community members. It is just a really different and effective service delivery.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Next, and I can go through this in detail, but I'm sure you are in awe every month, but the work that continues to be done by our major crime section, whether it's child sexual abuse, robberies, drugs, you'll see the significant drug seizures we continue to make, a street level of $75,000 worth of drugs taken off of our streets. Again, significant work being done. You'll see I don't even know, these pages aren't numbered, but an estimated value of drugs seized of approximately $150,000. So crack cocaine, hydromorphine pills, fentanyl, we continue to take those off the street before they get, unfortunately, into the hands of individuals and potentially saving many lives by seizing these drugs. But there's no lack of, those coming into our city.
So I think that was a Marinized question earlier, Chief. Like it says, 55-year-old male was charged. It says there was some 21-year-old male was charged, but it doesn't say their residents. Are these all Sudburyans that are being charged, or are these the out of town?
I don't know. Inspector Wilmot has stepped out of the room. He was meeting with Ozzy.
Moving forward in future meetings, though, perhaps that can be added just so that we can track that there's, I guess it's like the guns coming into Sudbury. You already mentioned earlier in an annual report, there's more guns now in our storage area. Well, is that because the guns are coming from Toronto? Are these people bringing guns in if they're from Toronto? So it's just if we can kind of track residents, that's all.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Because the reason that there is a bit of an inconsistency, because then an outcome about the guy with the child sexual abuse, it does say a 50-year-old male of Cambridge. So there is a geographic reference to him. And I guess he's actually, this is pretty scary. He's the vice principal of school down there. So.
Yeah.
And that, as you know, on the child exploitation unit, often when our undercover are talking to individuals, we don't know where they're from. So the investigation, was here, but again, the individual is not local, so that's why the media release reported on that.
Right, thank you. Moving over to our favorite topic.
And just on that note, and Caitlin's in the room, a lot of times on our media releases, and I know we released on the 150,000, it would say an individual from the GTA. On that one, it does. Okay, thank you. We will note it in the board report moving
Good,
forward.
thank you. Traffic.
Traffic. I'm gonna let you, Chair Lougheed, go for a traffic ride along. What's next? So reporting from Inspector Norman, all things from collision to enforcement, I know Councillor Fortank, brought up a question at budget time, and so we are reporting more robustly on our month-to-month traffic initiatives. Every month there is an initiative. You'll see that aggressive driving, school bus enforcement, distracted driving. Of course, we see that all over the city. Cell phone use, just some of the highlights there. The number of Part 3s, the number of impaired driving given out. Stunt driving, as we know, is 40 over the speed limit. You will see that 8 in February, 5 in January. Why anybody on our local roads would be driving 40 over the speed limit. Then you'll see again our emergency response unit. These incidents of interest generally again linked to high-risk search warrants or high-risk incidences that will require our ERU to get involved in. And of course, our K9 would assist in some of those. So these are the highlights from our integrated operations division.
Questions, Sean? Questions, Paul? Questions, Al? Questions, Krista? I think you and I have talked about, we seem to have a drunk a day. There's 25 impaired. Well,
They could
they
be,
should be called what they are. They're drunks.
or it could be by drugs, impaired by drugs.
That's true.
Yeah.
But these are bad people.
Yeah.
So, but having said that, it's consistent. So January and February is 25, 25. So do we have an education problem? Do we need to tell people? I think most people, I was just at a dinner last week and it was very funny. Everybody at the table was, I'm not drinking, I'm driving home. Like, without being told to do that, everybody was acknowledging you didn't drink and drive. Well, these 25 impaired people, they're chronic. Do we need to tell the community, watch out for chronic impaired people?
Yeah. And maybe through, many of our community partners who do a lot of significant work in this area through, our friend Leslie Green and Safe Ride Home, through, MAG Canada, through our corporate communications, we can get some better messaging out there. I would suggest a lot of it too, similar, we're seeing, the stunt driving. We joke, our traffic officers call it stoptional because nobody stops at, I'm not going to get caught. That's a mentality that's, seems to be out there. Well, I won't get caught. But to your point, Chair, I think, the consequences of getting behind the wheel, I don't know how much more education we can do on that, but maybe we need to highlight that more.
I did ask you yesterday or 2 days ago, I think they were called 611. It was the three mothers with the three drunk, the drunk driver, because he was drunk, not just impaired, that killed their three kids. And they were there forever, and they did the proms, and they actually, I think, took kids up to emergency to see what an emergency looks like. They disbanded a few years ago, but you told me a couple days ago you have maintained that educational piece for prom dances and stuff.
Yes. So in May, through public health, we actually take students from all of our local high schools and do this program where they wear goggles that stimulate being impaired. They do go to the hospital and to the emerge. It's a day program through our youth officers and public health, and we have that every May.
Which is good. That's traffic, and that's a wrap, except Caitlin's all her
all her good stories. And last night I closed out, we'll report on it next month, but I was at Laurentian University and I was with 20 of our officers and 20 newcomers or international students. So thank you to Cambrian College, Collège Boreal, Laurentian University, and the YMCA newcomers. But our 9th year of doing our intercultural ride along. And when we launch it, everybody's kind of a little nervous. They don't know what. By the end, they're high-fiving their officer. They've shared their cell phones. Their friends, the newcomers, have a different perspective on policing. So all of the incidents that Caitlin reports on generally are good news stories, but it builds public trust, right?
There's a really good news story you haven't addressed, and that is the undefeated hockey team that constantly beats the firefighters. And it happened again.
Yes.
And you raised significant money for families with cancer in Northern Ontario, which is a very good charity.
Very good cause. And again, I publicly want to thank Caitlin Dunn, who supports fire and supports us and does all of the heavy lifting leading in. And if you don't mind, Chair, I have one item for new business.
And I have, well, I guess I'm not sure I'm new business or business rising, but an update about IPV that I asked for in the last meeting.
Yeah, no, for sure. And please, Member LaFave, feel free to jump in. As we know, last meeting, Barb Ridley, our friend Barb, was here to make a presentation about the staggering, numbers of clients that she's seeing. But we continue to report every month on, the IPV instances happening that we are involved in. And we know that many, many victims, survivors of IPV do not report. But one of the pillars for the community safety and well-being that the mayor and I co-chair is Sudbury, hopefully, seeing a safe center come here. A safe center is, a unique kind of concept in which, again, it is wraparound services for those individuals, living in intimate partner violence. I want to thank Member Fortier, who is now part of this committee, and we have stood up a committee of many, many community partners that all individually do phenomenal work. I was able to bring opening remarks on behalf of the mayor and I a couple of weeks back, and everybody individually doing good work, but we need everybody to come collectively to do good work. And we see it down in Waterloo, we see it in Peel, and really, for lack of a better term, it's a one-stop shop for victims of IPV. Unfortunately, like we see in many systems, we heard Jackie speak about youth, and we kicked off the Icelandic model, another pillar, youth under the CSWB, but they get lost in the system, they get shuffled around, they don't get the supports from Sudbury Area Victim Services, they don't get supports for their children, they don't get supports. So we're hoping to bring all of this together in a safe center to support this. When will this come to fruition? It's going to take a lot of heavy lifting. I believe Peel Region was several years leading into this. I believe it was a family youth service that started. We're hoping, again, we'll identify soon who will be the lead. We'll also need to get some funding dollars, but it comes out of CSWB, where the mayor and I co-chair. Mayor LaFave or Member LaFave, do you want to add anything to that?
I think he said no.
I'm on mute. I'm sorry. That was well said. I'm good with that.
Then the whole initiative became because the province was contemplating whether they would declare IPV epidemic. I think the committee has reported, and they won't, but I think they're using the word systemic. And so the issue being is that when you talk about funding dollars, that the province said it was reviewing its ability to provide more resources for the IPV structures or campaigns or advocates or whatever. So I'm assuming that your committee and its leadership and whoever's going to be the leading agency will be in touch with the provincial government.
Yes, for sure. And we'll continue to watch. I know last year we did apply for some funding dollars, through CSWB, hoping to get a coordinator again to kind of, stand this up. We did see it in the youth pillar. We were able to get some funding there, and that one's moved a little more quickly under CSWB. This one, again, I think it's just going to take the people at the table. 16 partners have come together to say they will be part of this initiative and getting it off the ground locally. And so either through CSWB or we can continue to report here to the board and hopefully stand this up.
And I think one of the news headlines of the last 48 hours is an IPV situation had a fake gun and the person was arrested, and this guy's terrorizing women. If drunk drivers are bad people, these are worse people. So whatever you can do to stop that is appreciated. Al?
Through you to the chief, Mr. Chair, so we're talking CSWB, 16 members, but who's going to lead, Chief? Who's going to lead that initiative for that one-stop shop type of thing, which would be so great. It's a great idea. It just makes so much sense to do so and shouldn't cost any more money to the province to put these all together type of thing in one. So yes, who's leading?
So we did bring, the people together. I do have a list. I won't say who the community partners are.
No.
Because that's up to them, but we do have Wonderful agencies, like I said, all doing independently phenomenal work to support victims and survivors of IPV. We did put that out there. We are looking for someone to lead it.
Okay,
You know, this pillar to have a chair and co-chair
right,
and really do the heavy lifting.
okay,
You know, because it is public. Jackie Bellini, Sherry Moroso, some great folks really are leading the youth pillar and the Icelandic
Yes.
model. We're looking for that over here as well.
exactly, yeah, great, good to hear.
Is that your newest item or did you?
That is my newest item. So I guess you called it a update.
Yes,
Yeah,
Business
it
Rising.
wasn't in the agenda, so I added it as new business.
That's great. Any new business, Sean? Do you got anything else you want to add?
No, thank you.
Mayor, you got anything else you want to add?
No, that was a good meeting, very thorough. Thank you, everyone.
Welcome.
No,
Al,
we're
got
good.
anything? Chris, do you got anything? All right, our next meeting is a little bit iffy because we don't have a hard date. I think, Mayor, you're going to get back to me with a possible date and
Yeah,
Chief's-
I suggested that
He
to
sent
the
some
chief.
dates of his coordinating with the chief staff.
Yeah, and I'm going to send that to you as well, Chair.
Oh, I didn't know about that. So that's good. All right,
Yeah.
so we will have a new media, hopefully the third week of April. Anything else, folks?
Well, if we're successful in getting our CAPG conference here in Sudbury, I will be looking for co-chair.
Thank you, Chris. That'll can do. All right, we are adjourned. Folks.
Thank you, everyone.
Gary, I'm not here for the June meeting. Keenan's my
Thanks all. See ya.
graduation
Okay.
in London.
Maybe try to-